Richard Allen does not testify in his own defense. The Delphi murder case, the defense has arrested, and they have not called Richard Allen to testify in his defense. A lot of people are saying this is a big deal, X, Y, and Z, but the reality is, in the United States, the Fifth Amendment states a person does not have to testify at their trial or aid in any capacity in the investigation against them. And that includes not testifying at trial. A lot of people are upset. Well, Mark, if I was innocent, I'd want to tell the world, I'd want to get up there. And other people are saying, of course he didn't testify. He's guilty. He couldn't raise his hand and swear to God on the Bible and testify that he didn't do it because he knows he did it. And if you think about it, no matter what Richard Allen did, he was going to be damned if he did, damned if he didn't. And this is something defense attorneys deal with constantly because it's always an issue. And during jury selection, I've asked jurors, hey, who wants to hear my client testify? And almost every single juror, all my jury trials raise their hand. I want to hear him testify because we're curious. We're human beings. We want to know what's inside someone's head. But the reality is, except in very narrow circumstances, it's almost never a good idea for a criminal defendant to testify at their own trial. Why? Well, number one, a criminal defendant is almost never a trained witness. Now, in this case, you've heard experts, you've heard police officers, you've heard all sorts of people. These people have lots of experience testifying at trial. Nobody, in this case, this was their first rodeo. And if you're a police officer or law enforcement, you've been taking classes by the state how to do trials. More likely than not, the prosecutor has spent hours and hours and hours doing mock trials just with the prosecutor and the prosecutor's witnesses. And so they know what to do, they know how to respond. Richard Allen is a normal, everyday person, and it's alleged he's maybe got some mental problems. That's like the last person you want to put on the stand, especially if they've given reasonable doubt on the state's case. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with me, but I mean, we can agree this guy was shot up with some medication when he's talking crazy, he's covered in whatever. I mean, this guy maybe made some confessions, but under some very unusual circumstances. And I'm not saying he's not guilty, I'm not saying he is guilty, but I feel like this defense has done a great job attacking that beyond a reasonable doubt standard. And the bullet stuff, well, hey, guess what? You got experts saying, hey, what the state did is not reliable. I know there's a back and forth on that, but they've done a great job, the defense has done a great job chipping away at the state's case. Now, after arguments, it'll be in the jurors' hands. We'll see if the jury finds him guilty or not guilty. But Richard Allen has nothing to add to the narrative, and that's the real danger of putting your client on the stand. The prosecutor is a trained lawyer, and also, he's the lead prosecutor, and some people might question whether the prosecutor in the Delphi case is good or not, but he's still better than a non-lawyer person, and he's going to do a good job cross-examining him. I mean, can you just imagine? Why was a grown man at the bridge that day? You killed those girls. No, I didn't kill them. You said on the phone you did. You told your mom. I mean, the question is, there's no situation where it was going to be helpful. It wasn't. It's not going to help his case by him testifying. And even worse, if he does testify, some juror is going to focus on what he did or his demeanor. Oh, he was shaking when he answered. Of course he was shaking. He's on trial for his life. Maybe not the death penalty, but if he gets convicted, he will die in jail. I mean, there's no way around that. He's going to die in jail if he gets convicted. So, of course he's going to be nervous. He's not going to be the ideal witness. He's not trained. He's not a lawyer. He's on medication. He has some mental issues. There's so much stuff that could go wrong and likely would go wrong. Now, there is a small exception for having a defendant testify. Very, very small. If you need to have your defendant testify to prove something. So a lot of times in self-defense cases, a lot of times, but not always, a lot of time in self-defense cases, it's almost necessary for the defendant to testify that they were scared, that they had a reasonable fear of bodily harm, especially if there aren't witnesses around that can establish that. Now, if there's witnesses around that say, oh, of course, I was scared of that guy too. Of course, your client's going to be scared. Then we don't need to have the defendant testify. But if there's no witnesses, sometimes it's necessary to have the defendant testify to prove something. But again, even then, it's so risky. And if you can prove it through other people or other evidence besides the defendant, then that's what you want to do almost exclusively, because it's a bad idea. I've done hundreds and hundreds of trials, and of course I've called my clients to the stand when I had to. But I've always very, very nervous doing it, and is only doing it after lots of preparation and when I knew I had to. Now, testifying at trial is one of the few things that a client can overrule the attorney on. So once you hire a criminal defense attorney, the criminal defense attorney is in charge. But whether or not the defendant testifies at trial, that is still the client's right. And most times, I don't know if it happened in Delphi because I can't go and I can't watch it or hear it because the judge said no TV, but in every case I've ever done in my nearly 20 years of criminal defense, the judge asks the defendant, do you wish to testify? And the defendant says yes or they say no. And even in the cases where my client said yes, the judge looks at them, are you sure? You talk to your attorneys about this? So Richard Allen could have testified. It's not that his attorney said you cannot testify, but because he's probably understands the gravity of a situation, he probably said, what do you guys think as my defense attorneys? And defense attorneys probably said, no. So don't read too much into him not testifying. He'd be damned if he did, damned if he didn't. There's zero chance everyone would have been happy with his decision. But by not testifying, the defense team is putting the focus back on the state's case. Did the state prove Richard Allen is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? And we might know sooner rather than later. This is a crazy case. If Richard Allen had not talked to the police, if he'd exercised his rights at the beginning of this case, well, you probably wouldn't be on trial right now. So I want to remind you, if you're watching this video, always plead the fifth. And if you watch this video to the end, like and subscribe. I sure would appreciate that. Sorry, my voice is a little scratchy. I got a 2-year-old. It got me sick. Give me a comment. I will try my best to respond to all comments, but I can't promise that. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work. And some of you guys leave lots of comments, but I love them all. Plead the fifth.